Almost every single piece of financial advice that I've ever heard is saying get out of debt and debt is bad. Don't use debt, avoid debt. Debt free is the goal for a lot of individuals. And I want to show you why that is only half true from a financial counseling perspective and how some of the wealthiest people in the world are using debt to get much richer, while a completely different kind of debt is absolutely crippling people's net worth. When we look at the US household debt, it has surpassed $14.5 trillion, which is crazy. And almost everyone carrying that debt, it is one big bad thing and very difficult to actually escape it. That is the mistake. Today, I want to give you the framework, what actually breaks out the good debt from the bad debt, and really running through an audit that you can run on your own life, knowing where your finances are. So let's go ahead and get into it. So first of all, guys, here's the framework. It's not about the interest rate alone. It's about how the debt feels for you personally. There are two questions. One, does this debt fund an asset that is going to grow or increase income over an extended amount of time? And two, is the cost of debt lower than the realistic return that I can generate from this? If both yes, you can use debt as a tool. If either one of these are no, it is a liability just wearing a disguise. Do not use it at all. So here's the catch. Good debt that is used irresponsibly can quickly turn into bad debt. The way we look at this is a mortgage you can't afford is not a good debt just because it's a mortgage and you don't have to rent. The category and really looking at the math and the discipline behind it. So stop asking yourself, is debt good? Is debt bad? You need to look at it differently and start asking what specific debt is actually going to buy me? What does it look like? And is borrowing actually worth it when it comes to the long run? And what is it going to do for my long-term financial well-being? So let's make this concrete, guys. 4 categories that debt is really to pass the 2-part test, and you have to do this very responsibly. The first one is a mortgage. Realistically and really historically, real estate has appreciated over time. The rate is fixed, often well below the appreciation that we were seeing, especially in the equity that we're building in today. And the exact math from last week's video, the mortgage versus investing video, the average 30-year mortgage is 6.36% as it sits today. The S&P 500 return is roughly 10%. That is the spread on why you can use mortgage debt and used appropriately to sit in a good category and actually gain some percentages, even at a much higher interest rate. When we start getting north of 6, I would probably recommend putting some of that or taking some sort of a hybrid approach to actually eliminate some of that mortgage. Then we look at student loans. This is a big one because funding increases your future earning power. If you can get a degree and get $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 more a year, the degree can lead to real income. Income is really huge when you start looking at this. You also have to note that not all degrees will pass this test. Getting and paying for college might not be beneficial if the job is not there. And that's where good debt really requires some scrutiny, not blind faith in a category, especially when you look at higher education institutions. If you're paying $200,000 for a degree, that's going to yield you an additional $20K every single year. Might not be worth it. Then we look at small business loans. This is borrowing capital that is going to generate more income than what you're paying or what you have to repay. This is really the purest form of leverage as we see it when a business math and when it can actually work to increase the business and actually grow the business itself. And number 4 is going to be a HELOC when used very wisely. I really say this with a point of caution, guys. Borrowing against a home equity to fund additional renovations in the home, other appreciating assets, the home itself becomes the collateral and the asset, but you have to be careful because it actually turns your home into a liability when you're borrowing the equity out of there. And if anything should happen, including a housing market crash, possibly could be recalled on the home equity. It is not absolutely guaranteed. So here's the thread that connects all 4 of those things. Every single one of these can be very bad debt if it's misused in any way. Mortgage on a house you cannot afford is absolutely going to be devastating. Student loans with no degree or no income path that is generated, of course, going to be financially bad. Business loan with no business plan or no business, no way to generate money, not going to work. And a HELOC that people spend on vacation, which is crazy. A category that is not going to go ahead and grow your money. The discipline is how this is going to do. Now, on the other side of this, and this is the bad debt. Now, bad debt really falls and fails in both parts of this test. It funds something that loses value immediately, and the interest rate is usually high enough that the math is actively working against you every single month. Credit cards are my biggest pet peeve. When it comes to credit cards, the average balance in the United States is over $6,000 per person, and the interest rate is commonly around 20 to 22%, which is crazy. When you look at a 6.36% mortgage rate, there is no realistic asset or investment that is going to give you a 20 to 22% return. That is 100% guaranteed, which means credit cards are mathematically unwinnable if you are carrying balances on there, and you have to hear it. To be clear, credit cards aren't evil. It is a tool to buy stuff. It is a good way to get rewards if you're paying them off. Carrying a balance really month to month at 20% is the biggest problem. It is going to crush you financially. It's not the card itself, it's how you're utilizing that card. Now, payday loans, this is short term. This is very ineffective. When it comes to the interest rate, you're talking hundreds, if not thousands of percentages, which is crazy. The structure itself often leads to reborrowing. These are individuals that I've done financial counseling for, and it is a lose-lose situation when it comes to payday loans. Then we look at high interest auto loans. Cars have a massive depreciation when you drive it off the lot. They're saying 10, 15, possibly even 20% depreciation. And looking at a modest vehicle loan, which is around $70,000 on average, if you're in a higher interest, not only are you losing on the depreciation, you're losing on the interest rate. So it is kind of a lose-lose, or a double loss as we call it. This pattern across all three: high cost of borrowing plus an asset that is not generating income, that is actually depreciating much faster than anything else we have in the United States, which is the reason it is going to shrink your net worth with, really, regardless of what you do. It is the exact opposite. Now, some people talk about when I leverage, and I do have a leverage account for my finances that I do investing. This is the concept that I want to talk about in this video. Definitely opening a line, and this is where wealthy people are using leverage to get much richer. It is called financial leverage, using borrowed money to amplify a return on investment, or giving the ability to invest more. If you invest $100, you expect a 10% return, you'll make your $10. If you invest $200, half of your money, half of it borrowed, is less than 10%. Your $100 in capital now controls $200 in that investment, and the gains are proportional minus the interest that you owed. This is the big part when it comes to leverage. Borrowing at a lower rate than you expect to return. Now, this isn't guaranteed, is going to create a spread between what you're actually paying, and this can amplify your profits depending on your portfolio, depending on the return. It is the exact math that we used from the mortgage video a week ago, just applied to a brokerage account instead of a home. Now, looking at this, guys, a lot of places will do security-based lines of credit. When you borrow against your portfolio, you are borrowing against it. Think of like an Elon Musk. That's exactly what he does. He owns SpaceX now, as well as Tesla. He can borrow money against those shares that he has without actually selling it. Mortgages, this is where most common form of leverage that we see. People use it and they think of it as a different way. But if you're going in here and you have a home equity, you have access to the equity that is in your home, and you can actually borrow against it. And of course, when people get a significant employer stock or equal and really early compensation in equity, you can borrow against that stock investment without having to really sell it at all. Now, there is a very critical caveat that you have to know, and I want to say it clearly. Leveraging is also going to amplify your losses as well as amplifying those gains. If you are over leveraged, taking on more debt than you can service, and it goes the wrong way, let's say for instance, you borrow $10,000 and it's at 6%, all of a sudden the market goes down 20%. Not only are you feeling the 20% reduction that we've seen in the market, you still have to accommodate and pay that additional 6% on the money that you borrowed. So your loss overall would be 26%, even though the portfolio is down 6% anymore. This is where I'm saying, guys, do not run out and take loans to invest. You have to understand that leverage is a very deliberate tool that some people use, and use it with extreme care. If you're over leveraged, I've seen portfolios that have gotten absolutely liquidated because there was a call. There's no free lunch when it comes to this, guys. And for people watching this, the takeaway is to understand the concept, not necessarily use it personally, because a lot of people, I do not advise and I do not recommend leveraging at all, but doing it in a small part can really have a big win. It is for investors that have that stable emergency fund, very reliable income, and a very long growth horizon when we start looking at investing in the entirety. So here's how we can actually put it all together, guys. When we start looking at this, every debt you carry, if you have a mortgage, if you have a student loan, auto loan, credit cards, anything, it is going to be sorted into 3 buckets. Bucket number 1 are things that are working for you, the mortgage, the student loans, that are gains and income, those business loans we talked about, really making those normal payments, no urgency to pay them off or accelerate them. Bucket number 2, these are the ones that need attention. We're talking home equities, line of credit, auto loans with high interest rates, student loans where the degree is not going to really cover the income jump. Not an emergency, but definitely worth planning to finance, pay down, or eliminate. And then bucket number 3, this is going to be 100% your priority number 1, which is any debt where the balance is going to go up month to month. We are talking credit cards, payday advances. Every extra dollar has to go here at a 20% return before you start investing, before you put anything extra on your mortgage, before you're going in and paying off your student loans. Eliminating the credit card debt is going to be huge. There are 2 proven methods that I've talked about, the snowball method and the avalanche method. Of course, either one of those works as long as you're using one of those and sticking with it, because when it comes to debt, mathematically there is, and really systematically, a way to accelerate the money that you're putting on there to get the return that you're looking for. Now, there are no investment decisions to make here. There is a very high certainty when looking at the return available to most people. They are going to get the most bang for their buck when it comes to the credit card. Once bucket 3 is clear, then we can reevaluate what bucket number 1 and 2 looks like, because that is the real choice and the real payoff when it comes to both of those. So the bottom line here, guys, you need to stop treating all debt the same. Ask the 2-part question: is it going to fund something that is going to grow or generate income? And is the rate much lower than we're seeing those realistic returns? Does it make sense on mortgages, student loans with a real upside, business loans? They are debt, and they are good debt that are going to be used to advance your career and advance you financially. Credit cards have the monthly payment, payday loans, even looking at those high interest auto loans are working against you. They are stealing your wealth in its entirety every single month, and financial leverage does that exact same math. Really deliberately applied, the right investor at the right size, being cautious, can leverage and make a lot of money. So run your real audit, guys. Look at all 3 of those buckets. If any bucket lands in there and anything lands in number 3, that 3rd bucket, definitely putting every dollar towards that first. Drop a comment and tell me, after looking at the audit, how many debts land in bucket number 2 or 3. If you have some in bucket 2, 1, and 3, let me know, because if there's something in bucket 3, let me know the action that you're going to take to go ahead and eliminate that, because it is something that needs to be completely gone. I read every single comment. I reply to all of the comments, and I hope it gave you some clarity when it comes to some of your debt, and I'll see you in the next video.